there, friends, and welcome to the Paranatural Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Jeffrey Gates.
Who the fuck is Jeffrey? He's Jake. And we are so glad to have you with us tonight as we talk about one of America's most famous and most haunted locations, the Waverly Hills Sanitorium. Jacob, how you doing tonight, brother?
I am. How are you?
I'm fucking fantastic.
Ing fantastic?
I'm fucking fantastic.
Who's fantastic? You should tell Leilani about him.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, everything's good in the world here at Paranatural HQ.
Is that where HQ is?
This is where HQ is.
I move too often.
Yeah, you're Paranatural on the road now. You used to be Paranatural South. Now you're Paranatural every
across
fucking
country.
where.
Yeah.
It's all right. Travel can be fun.
Just not in this instance.
Aw, poor baby.
Yeah, I know. People should feel sympathy for me.
They should.
Yep.
Everybody cry for Jake. Yep, that's probably about how silent it's going to be at our listeners' houses too. Anyway,
you can give them a couple more seconds to cry for me. It's fine.
Sure.
Okay,
there we go.
I think that covered everything.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this thing here tonight, if you enjoy the show, please don't forget to share it with a friend. Tell everybody. Bring them in. Have them listen. We would love to have more people join us here on the Paranatural Podcast.
Yeah. Spam everyone's accounts with us. I want to see us go from our 8 listeners to like 40,000.
And he doesn't mean spam as in the meat byproduct in a can. He means just tell everybody and then tell them again and then tell them one more fucking time.
And tell them to tell others.
Yes. That kind of spam.
Now the tasty spam in a can.
Yes. Fried up with mustard. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's good that way.
Fried up with cheese.
And mustard.
No. Mustard ruins it. Mustard ruins everything it touches.
Wait, people.
I can't believe you just went there. This couple of days ago was the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. Don't you know I'm a Stepsican?
Is it?
Yeah.
I would have thought that would have been in May. Somebody dropped the ball on that shit.
Somebody claimed it already.
Okay. Anyway, Waverly Hills.
Yeah.
So, couple quick things. One, there is a little bit of not so nice stuff that's going to be brought up in this episode. Not going to get too graphic about it, but it is there. Some not so nice stuff happened at this place.
Is this a disclaimer?
A little bit of one.
Oh.
Then the second thing is what I'm going to do tonight is give kind of an overview of the more common occurrences that happen there. But there is a lot more like one-off stuff that you can look into and all that. And if you really want to see any of it, YouTube is full of videos that people have taken. It's full of EVPs that people have captured there. There's all kinds of stuff that comes out of Waverly. It is hands down one of the most investigated places in the United States, if not the most. Like, trust me when I tell you, it's hard to get into this fucking place. We booked in January and did not wind up being able to find an open day until August. So, if you want to go, book early.
Yeah.
And while I did just allude to the fact that I did visit this place about a month ago, well, a little less than a month ago, as of when this episode is being recorded and will be released, I'm not going to talk too much on here about what I experienced there. But if you are a Patreon member, you will hear all about it. So
there is some stuff.
There is some stuff.
Ben discovered a ghost proctologist.
That was the best night of my life. Anyway. So Waverly Hills Sanatorium is located in Louisville, Kentucky. It was originally, the land was purchased by Major Thomas H. Hayes in 1883, where he decided to build his home. Now, there were no schools in the area where Major Thomas Hayes built this home, so, because he had daughters that needed an education, he decided to build a one-room schoolhouse on Pages Lane. He hired Miss Lizzie Harris to teach at the one-room schoolhouse, and Miss Harris, being a massive fan of Walter Scott's Waverly novels, decided to call the school the Waverly School. Hayes liked the name so much that he adopted it for the entirety of his property and called the whole thing Waverly Hill. The Board of Tuberculosis Hospitals kept the name when they purchased the land, and in 1910 they opened a state-of-the-art, for the time, tuberculosis treatment center and called it Waverly Hills Sanitorium. The need for a tuberculosis hospital in the area was largely due to the fact that the area around Louisville is wetlands. This is because the Ohio River runs right along one side of the city. Now, if you are not aware, tuberculosis, aka the White Plague or my favorite, consumption, thrives in humid environments. So the area had a shit ton of cases of tuberculosis. Waverly Hill was thought to be the perfect place to build a tuberculosis hospital due to the fact that, spoiler alert, it sits on a fucking hill. And up there is a constant breeze, and fresh air was thought to be the best treatment for the disease at the time.
Is this after hydro treatment or electroshock?
This is before any of that.
Okay. Fresh air then, huh?
Yeah, that's what they thought would help cure tuberculosis. There was other things that they tried, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit.
Lobotomies?
No, that was for psycho people. They did try things like removing ribs to make it easier to breathe.
Vampirism. Yeah. You gotta eat the ashes of a deceased crispy vampire. That's what causes tuberculosis.
I thought that's what cured it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes, tuberculosis was largely blamed for vampire legend.
Other way around.
No.
Vampires were blamed for tuberculosis.
Chicken and the egg. Anyway.
Egg.
Eggs.
I sure do love steak.
Anyway, the original hospital was built as a 2-story wooden structure with the capacity to house 40 to 50 patients. This quickly proved to be inadequate, and the little hospital became overwhelmed with more than 140 people in residence. So, in March of 1924, they began construction on a 5-story building that could house around 400 people. It opened for business a little over 2 years later in October of 1926, and that is the building that still stands and can be visited today, and it is massive, huge structure. It's just massive. What's more is that due to the contagious nature of tuberculosis, it wasn't only patients who were quarantined at Waverly Hill. Waverly Hills actually operated like its own little town. It had its own zip code, a post office, its own water treatment facility. They grew and raised their own food, and there was housing for the hospital staff. So essentially, if you worked at Waverly, you stayed at Waverly. You didn't go home. I mean, you could leave. It wasn't like prison locked down, and visitors were allowed to come in. But the people that worked there lived there. In 1961, the discovery of antibiotic treatment for TB made the sanatorium obsolete, so they closed it down. The building reopened in 1962 as Woodhaven Medical Services, which was a geriatric care facility.
That's old people.
That is old people. Due to neglect and mistreatment, Woodhaven Medical was closed by the state in 1982. So that's just a very brief overview of the history of Waverly Hills. Now, with so many years worth of people living and dying at Waverly, which I looked up the death count, and one report said 63,000. That's just what's accounted for, and of course records are spotty. There are others who say it could be upwards of 120,000 people who died of mostly tuberculosis at Waverly.
Let's hope.
Which, To be fair, by all accounts, the tuberculosis treatments, when it was running as a sanatorium, it was very nice. They treated people very well. There were some experimental surgeries that went on, like I said, like removing ribs to help people breathe better and things like that. But they weren't done like they weren't forced on the people to have them done. They were really trying to help by doing these things. But for the most part, the people were just brought there. They were well taken care of. They were kept comfortable, taken out for fresh air because, like I said, that was the best thing they thought they could do for them. So the whole place is actually built with like a I don't know what you call it, like a balcony that goes all the way around. So it's all fresh air. And all the rooms could open up to the outside to get the fresh air in. And let me tell you, it is breezy up there. Like I said, I'm not going to talk a lot about what I experienced there, but I can tell you it was a good place if you're looking for some fresh fucking air. Because when we were there, it was windy the whole damn night. But anyway, with all of that, all the people dying, people living there, it's really not surprising that the place is ding-dang haunted. Because that's what causes haunted stuff. A lot of times is people living, people dying. People report a myriad of different experiences at Waverly. Some report having frightening experiences. Others experience activity that is more friendly and not at all threatening. According to the people who currently work there, you get from Waverly what you bring. If you bring fear, you get fear. If you bring kindness, you get kindness. So keep that in mind if you ever visit there. Now, there is, of course, reports of the usual shadow figures that can be seen crossing the halls and peeking around corners, disembodied voices having conversations that can't quite be clearly understood, and an occasional occurrence of visitors being told loud and clear to get the fuck out. Those are things that are reported pretty much everywhere in the building. But each floor kind of has its own unique experiences to offer. Right at the entrance on the very first floor, people report seeing a woman. Now, on its own, that's not so bad. But this particular person is chained wrist and ankle with blood coming off of her from various places, and she is said to come running out screaming for help before vanishing into thin air. I have a picture of this door, and I will share it on our Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Just spoiler alert, I did not see that lady. If I would have, I probably would have went the fuck home right then. That would have scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the most pleasant experience.
No, it sure wouldn't.
Nah.
Now, just inside the entrance, like in the little what would have been the greeting area, people encounter another entity who is a little less than friendly. If I remember right, it was not, I couldn't find this in the notes, but I remember from our tour guide, I think they said his name is Tommy. But this particular entity is a male spirit who is pretty much just a dick. Apparently, what he likes to do is insult visitors, often using their deepest insecurities to do so. So it's like a not-so-friendly roast. He seems to have a special vehemence towards women, but men are not free from this particular entity's shenanigans. So,
Tommy's a dick.
Yes, he is. That's what they'll tell you. The first floor is also where you can find the morgue. In that particular room, there are a couple of embalming tables and 3 of the original body trays. If you do the overnight investigation, which is about 6 hours, you are welcome and encouraged to lay down on the bottom tray in the dark, 100% alone. And yes, using your phone for light is cheating. Doing this is called the Body Tray Challenge. And I, for one, fully recommend taking part if you ever visit. I did. It was amazing.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Oh, yeah,
if you did it or not.
I did it.
Yeah.
Many people who have taken the challenge report various things. One person reported someone gently holding his head and hearing a whispered voice say, "You are still alive." Another claims to have heard people talking and writing on a clipboard. Yet another heard a growl in their right ear. a growl that 2 other people claim to have heard as well, and that person says that they caught an ear infection within days of leaving in their right ear. So that would kind of suck. Now,
that's some extreme halitosis.
Now, if you want to hear what I experienced doing the Body Tray Challenge, patreon.com/paranormalpodcast. I know, I'm a tease.
You're a tease.
And in the vein of being a tease, there is one more first floor attraction that must be mentioned. It is one of Waverly's most famous spooky corners, but I'm not going to talk about the Death Tunnel until the end. Yeah, Death Tunnel. Ha. Stick around, bitches. All right, on to the second floor. While disembodied voices can be heard throughout the building, the second floor is where they are said to be quite common. This is thought to be due to the fact that the second floor is where the dining room and common room is located. So this is where all of the people from the hospital would gather, assuming they were healthy enough to, come down the elevator or what have you and get there. It's where they came together to visit and chat and all that stuff. It was also home to the hospital's kitchen, where visitors have reported the phantom smell of food being cooked despite the fact that the last meal made in Waverly Hills Sanatorium was in 1982. Most notably, people report the tantalizing scent of fresh-baked bread. So like I said, not everything at Waverly is negative. Fresh-baked bread, that's fucking nice, buddy. That is nice.
We did another haunted location. Oh, it was Satan's Harvest. They would smell fresh baked bread right off the get-go when it first started happening.
I believe you, but I don't remember that.
I remember.
We do so many of these, I don't remember a lot of what gets talked about in some of them.
I remember that one because I didn't like doing that one.
That might be why I've particularly blocked it from my memory. It was yucky.
It was. A lot of yucky in it.
A lot of yucky in it.
He's a sheep fucker.
That's exactly what I remember about that story. Sheep
that
fuckers.
Is dad fuck sheets, yeah.
Sheep fuckers.
Yeah.
Anyway, the second floor is also where at one time a pair of twin sisters lived to be treated for tuberculosis. And it is in their room, which they have a little plaque outside their room that says their names. I wish I would have. I thought I took a picture of it, but I can't remember their names right now. But anyway, many people have recorded EVPs of one of the sisters calling out for the other, which, if you know anything about twins, that kind of makes sense. That's another one we should fit into our show at some point, like the twin psychic power thing.
Well,
it's fucking fascinating.
I could get some guests on the show for that one.
Fucking perfect.
Yeah, because I already know of one set that listens.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's most of what people report on the second floor. The third floor, people report hearing a bouncing ball. This usually, and the place is littered with balls. We'll kind of get into why. Not like that, jackass.
Mostly males?
Toys. Toy balls.
Oh, toy balls. Not test balls.
They report hearing a bouncing ball, which usually precedes encountering the ghost of a little girl. Her name, according to those who have gotten it, is Mary, and she has no eyes. Because what can possibly be creepier than a kid ghost? A kid ghost with no fucking eyes. Oof.
Or the twin ghosts from The Shining.
If they had no eyes, they'd be even creepier, though.
That's true.
Those weren't even twins. They were just sisters. How the fuck was that?
Come play with us, Danny.
Now, speaking of creepy, we come now to the fourth floor. Common things on the fourth floor include disembodied cries for help and slamming doors. But there is something particularly frightening on the fourth floor. An entity known as the Creeper. The Creeper is said to be a shadowy figure with disproportionately long and twisted limbs. It crawls along the floor as it approaches you, and then will skitter up the wall and continue its approach on the ceiling, hanging upside down. On all fours. Like Demon Spider-Man.
Yeah, so the exact description there, you remember the cabin on 6th, or...
Yes.
Cabin on 60 or
Yeah,
360.
whatever that was. There you go.
So they had that same exact thing in the basement,
Mm-hmm.
and they looked it up in an old demonology book. It's Astaroth.
Well, Astaroth B's getting around.
He's a creeper.
He be's getting his Astaroth around.
Now his Astaroth is going to be behind you.
Now, those who encounter the creeper claim that a feeling of dread and foreboding accompanies its appearance and lingers in its absence. The 4th floor is also home to Big Black, a shadow entity that stands between 10 and 12 feet tall, and like his friend the creeper, does not give visitors a warm, fuzzy feeling. Now, it is of note, here's a little bit of history. The 4th floor is where not only the surgical room is, where you can often hear like doors slamming and shit like that, and where they did like a lot of the weird experimentation when it was a geriatric facility and when it was a tuberculosis ward and all that. It is also where the shock treatments were, and you can go into the shock treatment room. It is also where, according to the stories, when it was a geriatric facility, there were people who were kept there not in great condition. They were just kind of left and forgotten about and not cared for. There is also a legend of a homeless man and his dog who got into Waverly between when it was shut down and when they reopened it for this kind of thing, and fell down the elevator shaft and died. Like both of them. So apparently a lot of bad shit happened on the 4th floor. And the tour guide that I was with said that as far as they're concerned, the only 2 actually like evil spirits in the whole place are there. And that's Big Black and the Creeper. And yeah, I'm just going to interject here my own thing. The 4th floor is yucky feeling. Like, I didn't really see anything up there, but it didn't feel good.
That doesn't sound like a nice place.
It's not. On to the 5th floor and the infamous room 502.
Somehow I knew it was going to be 502.
Because you read something about Waverly? Or are you having a deja vu moment?
Deja vu moment.
Spooky. According to legends, there were not one, but 2 self-induced end of existences associated with room 502.
Hey, I know what that means.
In 1928, a nurse was found hanging from a light fixture in that room.
That's murder.
She was 29 and had become pregnant out of wedlock. According to some stories, the father of the unborn baby was one of the doctors who, when she told him she was pregnant, told her to get fucked.
That's what got her in that predicament in the first place.
Fair. Now, due to the shame of her situation, remember, this is 1928, and unwed motherhood was very much frowned upon, she wound up ending her life. Visitors to room 502 claim to see a nurse in the room who tells them to get out. Another legend is in 1932, a nurse who worked in room 502, which was like the shower room, so she probably might have been in there quite a bit, decided to go bungee jumping from the roof of the building without a bungee. The reason why is not known, and many people think that this is just a bullshit made-up story, but records being what they are, it's kind of hard to tell. The 5th floor is also where they housed the children. And they even had a playground on the roof where the kids could run and play. One such kid can still be interacted with today. This spirit is of a boy called Timmy, who, in life, loved to play ball with his favorite nurse, a woman named Mary Hilgert. One day, while playing with his ball, Timmy fell from the roof and died. There was some speculation at the time that he might not have fell. In the area near where he fell, there was another patient who had been a prisoner at one time, and they thought maybe, just maybe, he was pushed, but the police investigation said there was no evidence of that, and they ruled it an accident. Now, another thing that Timmy loved to do, as much as play ball with his favorite nurse, was he had a music box, wind-up music box, that he would wind and play constantly, and he always kept it in his pocket. And Mary Hilgert had warned him time and time again not to wind it too tight or he was going to break it. Well, like all boys will do, he wound it too tight and it broke. Well, after his death, Mary took this music box and kept it with her. And one day, it was in her room and just started playing. Now, she got very excited about this and tried to wind it up, but to no avail. And when she opened it up and looked inside, it turned out that the spring and everything in there had actually been removed after it broke. Like Timmy had taken it apart and taken everything out of it. But it played periodically, and every time it did, she would just smile and say, "Thank you, Timmy, for reminding me of the good memories." Visitors often leave balls on the floor of the 5th floor, and like I said, kind of all over the place now. There's all kinds of toys and balls and things laying around the place. But they leave them mostly on the 5th floor and invite the spirits of the children to play, and often the balls are seen to move. Now, some people say it's because of uneven flooring. Some say it's because of the wind up there, and there is enough draft that, you know, you can question it, but there are times when they say the balls will just roll out of nowhere, go against the wind, come up the hall, come all the way down the hall, go bouncing down the hall. All kinds of shit happens. And they think it's Timmy, who's still there, still playing with his balls. Anyway.
You make it sound sad, and then he's fondling his little gonads.
Hey, he's a boy. What do we
happens.
do?
You're
it
right.
happens. We fucking do it all the time.
Yeah.
Now, this one is actually a very unique phenomenon to Waverly. Like, I don't think I've ever come across this, hearing about or reading about any other like haunted places in my life. Waverly Hills is well known for the presence of doppelgangers.
That shit's creepy.
Now, if you don't know what a doppelganger is, that is like your twin, but not your twin. Like, it's your twin when you don't have a twin. And many visitors and tour guides report seeing themselves or other people walking around Waverly. So it'll be like they'll see themselves or they'll see another member of their group, and then the member of the group will walk up behind them when they see the member of the group in front of them. These doppelgangers are said to look exactly like the people they are mimicking, except for the black holes where their eyes are supposed to be.
Of course. Of course.
So, yeah, because, wow, that would fuck you right up, wouldn't it? Be like, "Hey, Jimmy." Jimmy turns around and got no fucking eyes. God damn it.
Jimmy needs to grow them back.
Jimmy needs to do something. And now, like I said, I'm just doing a broad overview of this. If you want to see some really cool shit, just get online, type in Waverly Hills, go to YouTube. It is fucking amazing. There's all kinds of shit. I'll share some of the pictures that we took. We didn't get a lot of stuff for pictures and all that, but if you go look on the Facebook, I'll share some of the stuff we got. But with that, we're going to go last but not least, the Death Tunnel. The Death Tunnel, aka the Body Chute, is a 500-foot-long tunnel that was originally built as a means of getting supplies to the hospital in the winter. Because it's a pretty steep hill. You didn't want to travel up that motherfucker if you could help it, so they built this tunnel that went down to the bottom of the hill. You could bring shit up. But due to the slope, it was difficult to use and was not used for that purpose very fucking often. And again, just to interject my part in this, I will tell you right now, the slope in that fucking tunnel is deceptively steep and exhausting. Like, I'm not exactly fit, but I'm not like on my deathbed, and you get about halfway up that bitch and you want to sit down. And it's only 500 feet, but motherfuck, it's a climb. So what they did, instead of being used to bring in supplies, the tunnel took on a second life as a way to get the bodies of the deceased out of the hospital without other patients having to witness it. This started in a time at Waverly where the death count was through the fucking roof. Like, people were dying like 1 an hour.
Oh, shit.
And so,
Stop dying.
What they did, I got tuberculosis.
I know, I was just going to say.
What they did was these people dying as frequently as they were, they just started taking them and like pushing them down this chute, and then at the other end somebody would collect the bodies and take them out for burial or burning or whatever they did to them. And yeah, that's fucking horrible. Fucking people die in 1 hour. But under normal circumstances, they would take them down, and somebody would get rid of them, whatever, ambulance would come. I don't know what they did with them, but
on them a little bit. I get it.
Now, visitors to the tunnel report seeing various different things, but mostly orbs. They hear voices, and that's where, if you're going to get physically touched at Waverly, that's where it's going to happen. Beyond that, the tunnel is said to be a veritable gold mine for EVPs. And you can look these up again, YouTube, Google, whatever. There are recordings of cries for help, children stating their age, and many ominous warnings to leave. So there it is. There's the brief overview of Waverly. Like I said, there is so much out there. Just if you're interested in this place, get on Google, look at some videos, read some stuff. It's fucking phenomenal. Literally the most active place I've ever been.
That's kind of saying something.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot on Waverly. I've watched all the Dildo's been there.
Yeah, of course, Dildo's been there.
And he almost ruined me watching a bunch on it because of how much of a showman he is.
Well, that's a very nice way to put it.
I'm trying to be nice about it. But yeah, he just has to act out everything. I guarantee you he has never, at least on a show, never had a genuine experience. But Waverly, literally everyone who goes there, other than Dildo, has great stuff. Whether it just be like door swinging shut, knocking, EVPs, orbs, they'll hear their name, disembodied voices, that kind of stuff. This is the first time I've heard about the doppelganger thing, and that is terrifying.
Yeah, that is ooky.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so to get into the doppelganger legend a little bit more, people might not know this. According to the original legend, if you see your own doppelganger, that is supposed to be a harbinger of great misfortune. So.
Yeah. I also heard a different legend on it that if you touch it or speak to it, basically gives it permission to take over what it wants, which is you.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
No?
No.
Oh.
Ooh, that's ooky.
It's very
Don't
ooky.
talk to your doppelgangers. Run away swiftly.
Yeah, don't touch them. They can't touch you, but they can piss you off.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah.
Well, these ones can't see you, so you're good. Just bob and weave. They got no eyes.
Yeah, but the doppelganger thing, I don't like that. And then the creeper you said, and
and Big Black.
Big Black,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Those seem a bit ooky too.
Which there's a legend for the creeper that I didn't write down, so I'll try to do my best for memory. I believe it was 1967. A boy named Richard was brought in for various issues, mental issues, and they were going to try electroshock therapy on him. And when they did, the doctor started cranking the electroshock machine like up beyond where a young boy would be able to handle it, right? And when he did, apparently this black mist started forming and eventually became like this thick black blanket and covered the boy. And a voice came out of it and said, "Leave the boy alone," or something like that. So people think that that's what the creeper was like some entity that came from this kid. and now it just lives there. But there's a lot of other people that say it's demonic. You know,
I don't want to. If that's actually what happened, whether this kid conjured it up himself or if it's an inhuman spirit, either way, it was attempting to protect this kid.
according to that story, yes.
Ain't gonna be evil, real creepy, but it doesn't seem all that evil.
I mean, we can conjecture it might have been something else too. Who the fuck knows? Because I'll tell you, for everything that I just said, there are just more stories,
Millions of
more
other
experiences
stories.
about things that happen as one-offs, or they're. It's just a lot of shit happens at Waverly, like a lot.
Yeah, I said my piece though.
All right, then. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we thank you for spending your time with us here on the Paranatural Podcast. If you like the show, share the show with a friend. And don't forget to leave us that rating and review on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you can. We really appreciate it. Until next time, we love you. Good night.
You guys want Ben and I to get back together, get to the reviews, and 2 weeks in a row, how's it feel?
Yeah, we're doing good again.
Yeah.
Getting our
Good
shit
night.
together.